Wimbledon told they need to make a rule change to the women's final after Iga Swiatek's demolition of Amanda Anisimova. The 2025 Wimbledon women's final will be remembered for quite some time, but not as a classic. In less than an hour, Iga Swiatek defeated Amanda Anisimova 6-0, 6-0, to clinch her first Wimbledon title. The American couldn't find her footing on center court as she found herself on the receiving end of one of the most one-sided beatdowns in Wimbledon history. Amanda Anisimova of the United States looks dejected against Iga Swiatek during the 2025 Wimbledon final. Grand Slam final debutante Anisimova's nerves were evident as she struggled from the very first game, while her more experienced opponent flourished throughout. Watching Anisimova crumble in the biggest match of her career, former British tennis star Laura Robson suggested a Wimbledon final rule change that could have helped her. Laura Robson was desperate for the 2025 Wimbledon women's final to be best of 5 sets. Speaking to BBC Radio 5 Live, Robson shared a potential format change which she believes would prevent players from dominating finals. "This is when you are desperate for the women's final to be a best of 5, she said. You can see the nerves and the tension from Anisimova, and if she just had that much more time to know that she could play her way into the match, it would feel so different to her. Down 5-0, she is almost feeling like the match is not over, but she's not too far away from the finish line, and it's all going too fast. But if you know I can knuckle down and there are at least another 2 sets that my opponent has to win, then it can settle you down massively." Robson recalled several women's Wimbledon finals where this has happened, as she gave her verdict on the men playing best of 5. "But there have been quite a few finals that we have seen at Wimbledon where you think it's the biggest stage in tennis, there is so much of an occasion behind it, there's so much pressure. And this is what happens when people get incredibly nervous," she said. "The difference is that the guys have so much time to play into it. I just think you look at Carlos Alcaraz a few years ago. In the first set he was so nervous he could not play, but he found a way because he had the time. Who knows if Anisimova could have mounted a similar comeback if women's matches were best of 5 sets, but it certainly would have been interesting to see." However, whilst Robson supports the move to best of 5 matches for women, her fellow Brit disagrees, as she highlights the problems with the longer format. Annabel Croft isn't keen on women playing best of 5 matches, there are enough injuries as it is. Also speaking to BBC Radio 5 Live, after the match, Annabel Croft was asked whether she thinks the women should play the extended format. "I guess it's a point, isn't it? I had a discussion with somebody yesterday, and they were saying, do I want to see best of 5 sets? She said. I said, no, I didn't." Croft proceeded to explain why she doesn't want women playing 5-setters on the WTA Tour. Annabel Croft conducts a post-match interview at Wimbledon in 2024. "There were many matches even at Queen's Club when we were watching. And some of the women's matches, best of 3, were going 3 hours on the grass, the men a little bit quicker because of their big serves and power going through the court. The matches were a little bit more efficient," she said. "But if you're 3 hours for 3 sets, can you imagine 5? The 59-year-old believes the longer matches aren't good for the human body, as she reiterated her disapproval of the idea. "I don't think it's good for their bodies. If they need to sustain themselves on the tour, I don't think the body can keep hammering itself with the amount of injuries that players are sustaining these days," said Croft. "So I don't think I am that keen on best of 5 sets for the women. I think there are enough injuries as it is anyway. The likelihood is that best of 3 matches are here to stay, but it's certainly interesting to hear the pros and cons of a format change. The 2025 Wimbledon women's final may go down in history, but not for the right reasons." In a shockingly one-sided display, Iga Swiatek dismantled Amanda Anisimova 6-0, 6-0 in just under an hour to capture her maiden Wimbledon crown. It was a brutal reminder of the gulf that can exist between experience and nerves on one of the sport's grandest stages. Anisimova, playing in her first Grand Slam final, struggled from the outset. Her game was riddled with errors and hesitation, while Swiatek, already a multiple major champion, was clinical, calm, and relentless. The American barely got a foothold on center court, looking increasingly dejected as the match slipped away almost before it began. The performance prompted former British tennis star Laura Robson to suggest a significant change to the women's format at Wimbledon, moving the final to a best-of-5 sets format. Speaking on BBC Radio 5 Live, Robson explained her reasoning, saying, "This is when you are desperate for the women's final to be a best-of-5. You can see the nerves and tension from Anisimova. If she just had that much more time, it would feel so different to her." Robson noted how longer matches give players, especially younger or less experienced ones, a chance to settle into the contest, something that could have made a world of difference for Anisimova. She also drew comparisons to men's matches, where even top players like Carlos Alcaraz have had slow starts in finals but managed to recover over the longer format. Robson argued that the pressure of a Grand Slam final often leads to nervy performances, and allowing women more time to play through that could produce more competitive and compelling matches. However, not everyone agrees. Fellow broadcaster and former player Annabel Croft pushed back on the idea. Also speaking on BBC Radio 5 Live, Croft expressed concerns over the physical toll that best-of-5 matches would take on female players, noting the already high rate of injuries in the women's game. "I don't think it's good for their bodies," she said, citing lengthy 3-set matches that already stretch players to the limit, particularly on grass. "If you're 3 hours for 3 sets, can you imagine 5? Croft emphasized that longevity and health should be prioritized, especially with how demanding the tour schedule has become. For her, the current best-of-3 format remains more sustainable, even if it sometimes leads to less dramatic finals. Swiatek's merciless win raises a valid question about how tennis formats affect not only the quality of finals but also the emotional arc of the sport. While the best-of-5 debate often emerges after one-sided women's finals, it's important not to use rare outliers as the sole argument for change. That said, Robson's point about allowing players time to find rhythm and recover from nerves carries weight. Anisimova's Grand Slam final debut was over before it even began, something that doesn't happen as often in men's finals thanks to the longer format. A potential compromise could be introducing best-of-5 only in Grand Slam finals or semifinals, striking a balance between fairness, spectacle, and player welfare. Whether the tradition-bound Wimbledon will take up that challenge remains to be seen, but this final certainly reignites the debate.